Think you know keto? You might still be falling for some of the most common myths that keep people confused, frustrated, and ready to quit. And even worse, that have some medical professionals actively steering people away from even trying keto. So today, let's bust some of these common myths so you can feel confident in continuing to follow your low-carb or keto diet, or have the courage to start one if you've been keto curious. Hey everyone, this is low-carb and keto nutrition specialist Amy Berger, and you're watching Keto Without the Crazy. I help people cut through the confusion and sensationalism so they can do keto in a simple, sustainable way. Before we get into things, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss future videos with straight talk about keto. There are so many myths out there about keto, but unless we want this video to be like 6 hours, let's keep it to 5 here today. And we'll count down, and these are in no particular order except number one. Number one actually still has some doctors fooled. So let's start with myth number 5. Keto is bad for your heart and kidneys. Wrong. X that out immediately. The two single largest risk factors or contributors to chronic kidney disease are type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. And we know from scores and scores of studies, published research on keto, that keto, or even just carbohydrate restriction to some extent, just cutting your carbs, is excellent for lowering blood sugar and lowering blood pressure. This is reported all the time in studies on keto diets. So to the extent that a keto diet can radically improve the two biggest risk factors for kidney disease, it's probably not bad for your kidneys. In fact, just within the last few months, there have been several papers published showing that not only does a keto diet not negatively impact kidney function, it can actually improve it in some people. So just don't worry about doing keto if you're concerned about your kidney health. Even if you have existing kidney disease, studies have shown that keto is safe at least as far as stage 3 chronic kidney disease. Of course, I'm not a medical professional. This is not medical advice. I'm just telling you what is reported in the published medical literature. As for keto and heart health or cardiovascular function, this one absolutely refuses to die. They have been talking about you keeling over from a heart attack since Dr. Atkins published his first book in 1972, Dr. Atkins' Diet Revolution. Oh, sure, you'll lose weight, but you'll just make a thinner corpse when you drop dead from a heart attack. All that saturated fat, all that butter is going to clog your arteries. Not exactly, because what tends to happen on a keto diet, and again, what's been reported time and time again in the medical literature, is that keto massively improves cardiovascular health and risk for cardiovascular disease by addressing the metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes and hypertension. By doing all of these things that help your cardiovascular health, keto actually reduces risk. And we know one of the things you can almost set your watch by, it's so predictable on a keto diet, is that triglycerides tend to plummet. In some people, HDL cholesterol rises. I refuse to call it the good cholesterol because there's no such thing as good or bad cholesterol. There's just one molecule, cholesterol. What keto does is it tends to improve that ratio by giving you lower triglycerides and either not changing HDL at all or raising it just a little bit. But even if HDL doesn't rise that much, the drop in triglycerides gives you a better ratio, which is a far more powerful indicator of your cardiovascular health compared to your total cholesterol or your LDL cholesterol. And that's really the main concern about keto, is that, your cholesterol is going to go up. The fact is, in most people, cholesterol actually goes down on a low-carb or ketogenic diet. There's a subset of people, we call them hyper-responders, or you might know them as lean mass hyper-responders, who go on a keto diet and their cholesterol not only goes up, it goes way up. But even in those people, there's some very fascinating research coming out that is showing they are not at increased risk for any cardiovascular disease or an event like a heart attack or stroke compared to people with much lower cholesterol. So is keto bad for your heart or kidneys? No. Moving on to myth number 4, you have to measure your ketones every day. No, also another myth. My friends at the group called Keto Gains have a saying, chase results, not ketones. You can check your ketones if you want to, and in fact, for some people, I do think the ketone level does matter, but it doesn't matter for everything. If your main goals are weight loss or lowering your blood sugar, lowering your blood pressure, reversing metabolic syndrome, reversing fatty liver, this long list of stuff, your ketone level doesn't really matter. Where it might matter, emphasis on might, is if you're doing a ketogenic diet for something more neurological or neurodegenerative in nature, something like traumatic brain injury, Alzheimer's disease, or Parkinson's, or if you're trying to address mental health as a huge burgeoning field now of people doing keto for things like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, OCD. So there's some conditions for which ketones might matter, but a lot of the things that people do keto for, they don't matter, and you will drive yourself crazy trying to chase levels every day when my friend Dr. Eric Westman, Keto OG authority, often says your body is the original app, right? You don't need a ketone meter to tell you if keto is working for you. You don't need a ketone meter to tell you if your pants are much looser, if your rings are falling off. You don't need to know your ketone level to know if your sugar cravings are gone or if your hunger is much more well controlled, if that food noise is quieter, if your migraines are gone or your heartburn or joint pain, if those are gone, if your skin is clearer. You don't need a ketone meter to tell you that. So you can check ketones if you want to, but it's not required for most people. Myth number 3, keto is only a weight loss diet. This could not be more wrong. What did we just talk about a minute ago? People use keto for a huge number of reasons, one of which is weight loss, yes, and it happens to be pretty effective for that for most people, but people also use keto to achieve completely normal blood sugar if they have type 2 diabetes, to improve their blood sugar control if they have type 1 diabetes. They use it to normalize blood pressure, to get rid of migraines, to clear their skin up, to normalize hormones in PCOS and conceive a child, even if you struggled with fertility in the past. We use it for all those neurological and neurodegenerative conditions. And this mental health, like I said, this exploding field, the research is so phenomenal and so promising, including in people for whom the medications really weren't working. They go on a keto diet and their lives literally change because their mental health has improved so much. So can you use keto for weight loss? Yes, of course. Is that all it's good for? Absolutely not. Tell me, has this been helpful so far? Have you believed any of these myths? Have you come to disbelieve them, whether through this video right now or through some other thing that you've had your mind sort of set straight? Leave a comment. I do read them all. We're getting closer to that number 1 biggest keto myth, but here we are at myth number 2. You have to eat a lot of fat on keto. No, you don't. It depends on the context. It depends on why you are doing a ketogenic diet. So just like measuring ketones, sometimes you need to, sometimes you don't. With high fat on keto, some people need that very high fat intake. Some people don't. In some people, it can actually work against what you're trying to accomplish. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, because fat is delicious, right? Give me some butter. Give me one of those really peppery, strong olive oils that almost like burns the back of your throat. I'm a happy camper. Let me go to town on fat. Yes, please. Unfortunately, fat is not a free food. You might think it is on keto just because it has no carbs, right? Like a pure fat, like coconut oil or butter or olive oil, has 0 carbs. That doesn't mean it just disappears when you eat it. And this is something that I see all the time where, I literally wrote a book about fat loss on keto. It's called The Stall Slayer, stallslayer.com, or we'll put a link to it in the notes. But as someone who routinely helps people with weight loss or fat loss on keto, this is one of the most common things that I see getting in the way. People just massively overdoing fat. And it's not their fault. They probably read a book or listened to a podcast or watched a video where someone told them they needed to. Oh, keto, you have to have 80% fat. You have to have a 90% fat macro, right? You have to hit your fat macro. So you have to put butter in your coffee. You have to put oil in your coffee. You have to melt everything, pour melted cheese over everything. I wish. Did that myth, the myth of overdoing fat, kind of blow your mind a little bit? If this video is helpful, please hit that like button. It teaches the YouTube algorithm to help other people find my videos, and it really helps support the channel. Now, myth number 1, another one that refuses to die, and that well-meaning but ignorant medical and nutrition and dietetics professionals fall for, is that keto is a fad. It's a fad diet. If you look back at the literature, people, doctors, medical professionals have been using carbohydrate restriction. Let's not call it keto. Let's call it what it really is. Therapeutic carbohydrate restriction. Doctors have been using this as far back as the 1700s. And if you want to come even a little closer, where maybe the literature is a little more reliable, the original ketogenic diet was developed at the Mayo Clinic in the 1920s, and it was a treatment for epilepsy, long before anti-seizure drugs existed. The ketogenic diet was specifically developed by doctors at the Mayo Clinic 100 years ago. And in half that time, 50 years ago, 50-ish, 1972, Dr. Robert Atkins, the late great Dr. Atkins, wrote Dr. Atkins' Diet Revolution. So is keto a fad, or is it something that has been around for hundreds of years? And rather than all the dire predictions coming true, you're going to have a heart attack, your kidneys are going to explode, your liver is going to die, it's going to kill your thyroid, all this stuff that is supposedly going to happen if you go on this crazy, dangerous, fad, wacko keto diet, none of it has come to pass. Instead, what we see is people losing weight, getting off their insulin for type 2 diabetes, getting off blood pressure medicine, conceiving children after having previously struggled with fertility if they have PCOS. We have people ditching their migraine pills. We have people ditching just huge lists of medicine, ditching huge lists of problems and feeling better than they have in years. So if this is a fad, it's a fad that is 3 centuries old. I don't know of any fad that has been around for 300 years. So that's it for this roundup of some common keto myths. I probably could have addressed 10 or 20 others. We'll save those for some other time. I hope I've helped to set the record straight about some of these myths. And if you enjoyed this and you want more keto without the crazy, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button so you can help more people find me. And you know what I always say, until next time, promise me that you'll keep the crazy out of your keto. Thanks for watching.